First, I want to thank Michael, Dennis, and Carol for putting this on. Can you just give them a hand? It's really great. I can tell you that Carol's up at State Exec just about every month. The best dressed and most positive on the State Exec board there. And it's a pleasure working with her. It really is. She really does represent you guys, and I can hear your voice when she speaks. So it's just good, and thank you very much for everything you do for the Republican Party, Carol. I think that's important. So I had a couple of things. I just came in. I live in Minneapolis. Okay, so I'm up there in the Twin Cities, and I'm a retired Marine. Any veterans out there? Yeah, there you go. There you are. Navy. All right. Yeah, Navy. There we go. I spent more time on Navy ships than most Navy guys.
Did you get seasick?
No, but I got a lot of bad food. So I retired, and then I ran against Keith Ellison up there in the 5th Congressional District. And that went, okay. Insofar as this, look, Tom Emmer ran in 2010, and Tom Emmer got 55,000 votes out of the 5th Congressional District, right? I ran in 2012, and we got nearly 90,000 votes out of the 5th Congressional District. And so I decided to stay engaged in the process because I know that winning statewide, we have to make the Twin Cities a lot more friendly to conservative causes and conservative candidates. And so that's really what I did when I ran for secretary of the party. And then, so I spent a lot of time working up at the party headquarters, putting together ways that we can reach out to the folks in the Twin Cities. I hate to come down here and bring you bad news, but it is true. Mark Dayton is still the governor. We're working hard, though. I can tell you that much. We are working hard. We have great candidates, and they are going to come down, and you guys are going to be able to put your hand in their hand and look them in the eye and find a guy that you want to support. But we have terrific candidates. I've met them all. I know them all at the statewide level. The guys that are running for the U.S. Senate, holy cow, they're going to give this guy Franken his money's worth. Okay? That is not going to be a cakewalk, woman. If you guys watch Fox News and all this other stuff, you know who Mitch McConnell is. Well, Mitch McConnell and John Cornyn were here to see some folks, and they ran into Mike McFadden, one of the guys running, and they were pretty impressed. If Jim Abler was there, able to be there, they'd be impressed with him too. And so I look forward to 2014, and that's kind of what we're going to talk about. But in order to set the stage, right, I wanted to share something with you. I've only shared this with one other audience, and they thought it was pertinent to helping those guys stay focused on why these elections and the political process is so important. All right, this is a letter written to a guy's wife. This guy his name is Sullivan Blue. Has anyone read this letter before? Civil War. Civil War. That's right. That's exactly right. And so he is staged and he is ready to go into battle. All right, and he writes his wife a few days before he believes that he's about to be moved out and shipped into the fight here. And he writes on July 14th, 1861, "My very dear Sarah, the indications are very strong that we shall move in a few days, perhaps tomorrow. Lest I should not be able to write again, I feel impelled to write a few lines that may fall under your eye when I shall be no more. I have no misgivings about or lack of confidence in the cause in which I am engaged, and my courage does not halt or falter. I know how strongly American civilization now leans on the triumph of the government, and how great a debt we owe to those who went before us through the blood and sufferings of the Revolution. And I am willing, perfectly willing, to lay down all my joys in this life to help maintain this government and pay this debt, or that debt. Sarah, my love for you is deathless. It binds me with mighty cables that nothing but omnipotence could break. and yet my love of country comes over me like a strong wind and bears me unresistibly on with all these chains to the battlefield. The memories of the blissful moments I have spent with you come creeping over me, and I feel most gratified to God and to you that I have enjoyed them for so long. And it is hard as it is for me to give them up and burn to ashes the hopes of future years when, God willing, we might still have lived and loved together and seen our sons grow up to honorable manhood around us. I have, I know, but a few small claims upon divine providence, but something whispers to me, perhaps it's the wafted prayer of my little Edgar, that I shall return to my loved ones unharmed. If I do not, Sarah, never forget how much I love you, and when my last breath escapes me on the battlefield, it will whisper your name. Forgive my many faults and the many pains I have caused you. How thoughtless and foolish I have been at times. How gladly would I wash out with my tears every little spot upon your happiness. But oh Sarah, if the dead can come back to this earth and filled unseen around those they've loved, I shall be near you in the gladdest days and in the darkest nights. Always, always. And if there's ever a soft breeze upon your cheek, it shall be my breath. As the cool air fans your throbbing temple, it should be my spirit passing by. Sarah, do not mourn me dead. Think I am gone and wait for thee, for we shall meet again. That was from a fella, Major Sullivan Blue, in the Union Army. A week later, he was killed in the first battle of Bull Run. This to me really says three things. It says courage, it says commitment, and it says sacrifice. And I think given everything that this country has been through, given everything that we are as a nation, I think that we owe it to this country to exhibit those three traits, okay, on a daily basis. And no, I don't believe that we're in a civil war with the Democrats. No, that's not the point. But the point is this man, a very passionate man, this man loved his wife, he loved his family, and he went out there and he did what he had to do for his country, what he believed in. And so when I read stuff like this, and in my own experiences as a Marine, it's, you know, can I stand up for what's right? Can I stand up for what's right, and can I continue to fight? And I gotta tell you, I'm a kid from the South Bronx. I feel like I'm very blessed to be here. There are things that I'd love to do in my life. I'd like to be on a ranch some days. I'd like to be on a farm some days and just call it quits. But you know what? This fight is never important. And I'll tell you, we are on the right side of this fight. Okay? There is nothing courageous going on in Washington right now. There is nothing courageous that would make this man proud to have given his life for his country. There's nothing courageous about Obamacare. Absolutely not. Okay, there's nothing courageous about wrecking the healthcare system. There's nothing courageous about telling seniors, oh, you're going to have all the options you used to have, and then them waking up and finding out that they don't. There's nothing courageous in that. All right? Al Franken is right there alongside Obama. This is the biggest cheerleader. Doing nothing courageous. There is nothing courageous about what they're doing with students. Our students, your grandkids, your kids, you know, my kid. There is nothing courageous about that. Like, sending these kids to a university that's going to load them up with tens of thousands of dollars of debt, okay, that they can't possibly pay off, and giving them a degree that doesn't do much these days. I'm 45 years old, so back in the 80s when I was going to school, a college degree can do something for you. Nowadays, you got these college kids working in Caribou Coffee, trying to pay off $50,000 worth of student loans. That's not courageous. That's not standing up for each other. And I tell you what, it does concern me. And so when I come around and see groups like this and I talk to folks, I'm really motivated by the faces that I see here. And I tell you what, we are on the right side of these issues. And Democrats, they just want to play games. Okay? They're driven by ideology, and that's not courageous. Courageous is looking up and saying, hey, you know what? We're going in the wrong direction. We need to turn around and go in a different direction. Courageous is opening yourself up and listening to different ideas and putting different plans into action. That's courageous. It takes nothing to sit there and do the same old thing. Winning an election is not courageous. Okay? And going out there and making campaign promises that you can't keep, that's not courageous. I'll give you an example of what I thought was courageous right here in our state. So in 2010, we took over the House and the Senate at the State House and State Senate. And our guys got together and said, hey, look, we can't agree on this new phenomenon, gay marriage sweeping across the nation. We can't agree on this. Okay, there were some Republicans that said, hey, you know, why not let them get married? And Republicans said, no, they shouldn't get married, and things of that nature. But you know what our guys said? They said, it shouldn't be up to judges. It probably shouldn't even be up to us. Why don't we put it in the hands of the people? Okay, and some of those guys lost their jobs for it. Okay? Some of those guys lost their jobs when they got called all sorts of names simply because they did what Americans do, what our country was founded to do, and that is leave decisions to the people. Okay? We do expect our elected leaders to provide some sort of leadership, absolutely. But at the end of the day, it's government of the people, for the people, and by the people. For that courageous act, they got called all sorts of names. And all of us did too. Okay? It didn't matter how you felt about the issue. If you were a Republican, if you were bigoted, if you supported a notion that people should show an ID card before they vote, just so we can know, you know, who's voting here, then you were somehow racist. If you are slightly concerned about what's going on overseas, then you hate Muslims. And I'll tell you what, that's wrong. You look at what's happening today. President Obama comes out here with this big George Zimmerman, Trayvon Martin deal. These guys haven't even scratched the surface on that issue. Because they don't turn it around to an argument about guns and what it's like to be a black teenager, but they haven't talked about one of the most critical components. Okay, and that is this. On the 4th of July weekend, 45 people were shot in Chicago. On 4th of July weekend, black on black violence. Why are we not talking about that? You know, why are we not talking about the fact that our cities are being ruined? I don't blame any of you for not wanting to live in Minneapolis. I hear the sirens driving up there. Oh my, somebody else got shot. Why are we not talking about that? Instead, they want to politically exploit this one case. Okay? Nobody was there. There were only 2 people there. Only 2 people can agree on what happened, and only one of them can speak. And it is what it is. We got to get to the bigger problem. Okay? When you look at who's getting kicked out of school in the 1st grade, 2nd grade, on up to 12th grade, not too many Asian girls are being thrown out of school for behavior problems. Okay? The fact of the matter is, culture matters. And there's something in the African American community that is causing these actions to continue. Okay? And we'll have another Trayvon Martin, unless they get in there and start talking about the real issues. Okay? Let's start talking about parents being not held accountable for their actions. Let's start talking about all this rap music and everyone, oh yeah, well it's nothing. Well, guess what? Look what it produces. Okay, does it produce this violent behavior or this culture where you're free to start talking to adults any sort of way you want to? I can tell you this, I have a 22-year-old son. There is no way on earth my 22-year-old son would have been in that position at any age. He's taught better. You either ran the other way, you said, hey, this guy's crazy, whatever the case is. You said, no, sir, I'm here, I'm not doing anything, I don't have any. You did everything you could to let this guy know he wasn't a threat. And when that didn't work, he would hightail it the other way. And I would suspect that most of your children would have did the same thing. So there's something going on in that community that needs to be addressed. But you know what? No courageous steps are being taken to address it. And I think it's high time we do. Because I'll tell you what, all of us are going to pay the price. All right? All of us are going to pay the price. We're already going to pay for a federal investigation to figure this thing out. We're going to pay for it in other ways. People are going to go around calling this person racist, that person racist, and all that stuff. And all of that's going to take us down. Okay? And so I think when I look at what this fellow Sullivan Blue went through and what he stood for his government. Okay? And there are a lot of folks going around, the Republicans hate government. No, we don't. We don't think government works properly. Okay? There's a big difference. We want to fix government. We think government spends too much of our money. But we don't hate government. You wouldn't have served in the Navy. I wouldn't have served in the Marines if I hated government. And I'd serve again. Absolutely. The next piece we can talk about commitment. Sullivan Blue was committed to this task. All right. As were a lot of other people during the Civil War. He put in his brain housing group up here this notion that, this is the right thing to do. He was already the Speaker of the House in Rhode Island. Okay? He went to Brown, so this is an Ivy League guy. He did not have to find himself on the battlefield, but he committed to it. Because he was one of those guys that said, hey, you know what? It's one thing to talk, it's another thing to walk the walk. He's committed to this ideal, and that he had to fight. And do we see that sort of commitment today? What these elected leaders know? They're committed to sound bites, okay? They're committed to making themselves look good. Right before I come out here, I looked on Tim Walz's site, and it said his mother instilled Catholic values in him. I can tell you this, I'm not a Catholic, my dad is. Now, my mom's a Catholic, my wife's a Catholic. What's wrong with me, huh? Well, I can tell you this. Abortion is not a Catholic value that I am familiar with. So he may have won that little soundbite war by saying, oh yeah, my mom instilled these Catholic values in me. They ain't staying in them. Clearly. And it's sad too. If someone's going to look at that and say, okay, he's a pretty decent guy. And I'm not saying the guy, Tim Walz is a bad guy. I'm not saying he's evil. Okay? I'm just saying, he's focused on winning the art of the soundbite. Okay? For whatever reason, he went to Washington, D.C. and went Hollywood on us. Okay? Got a whole bunch of consultants around. And he said, hey, this is how you say this. You can look more moderate. Okay? You can look like one of these blue dog Democrats. Well, I don't know any moderate person that would vote for Nancy Pelosi to be the Speaker of the House. That doesn't sound too moderate to me. I don't know. I understand he's a veteran, and I appreciate his service. But to say that he's been fighting for veterans, that's another one of those sound bites. Just about a month ago, saw a big old USA Today headline. 861,000 veterans are waiting for their benefits from the federal government. These guys who fought, these guys who lost limbs, some of them are dependent wives who've lost their husbands, okay, lost their loved ones, parents who've lost their sons and daughters, and they're stacked waiting for benefits. I don't know how you're fighting for those people, because I can tell you this much: that Obama machine they can organize tens of millions of voters and get them what they need to get to the polls. This country says, hey, look, this is something we're going to do, and we are going to exceed expectations. We get the job done. They haven't decided that on this issue for veterans. And to have Tim Walz sit there and tell any of you, or any other fellow Minnesotans around here, oh, I'm fighting for veterans. No, he's committed to coming up with the best sound bites. Okay, he's not committed to us. Not committed to this country like he should be. Okay, he walked away from the Farm Bill. I don't care how we feel about the Farm Bill. You don't turn your back on people. That's not what we send people to Washington for. That's not what we send people to St. Paul for, to turn their back on us. Hey, he didn't come up with a new, improved Farm Bill or anything else like that. No. Nancy Pelosi told him, hey, look, we're not supporting that. And he said, yes, ma'am. And he voted against it. He didn't have a proposal for an improved Farm Bill or a food stamp bill, anything of the sort. No, it's yes, Nancy, no, Nancy. Okay, fine. If he wants to support Nancy, I'd say we don't support him. That's just me. He's got that Stock Act, right? I saw him on 60 Minutes. I think you guys saw him on 60 Minutes too. But it's stuff. What a concept, okay? When you think about this bill, this bill essentially says, hey, look, we're all a bunch of crooks in Congress, okay? And we need you to pass this law so we can stop being crooks. I mean, that's exactly what that bill says. I mean, you don't need to pass a law, to stop yourself from doing something you shouldn't be doing. I mean, you really shouldn't be doing to begin with. And so I'm saying here, his achievements. But when you look at who's committed, I got a question: what is he committed to? Okay, is he committed to a political party? Okay, is he puts party before everything else, before common sense? And I think the record is pretty clear on that, right? I want to see people who are committed like Sullivan Blue. I want to see people who are committed to their country, who look their wives in the eye and say, hey, you know what? I got to do something beyond myself. Okay? I got to go out here and, as much as I want to be home with you, as much as I want to be safe, I got to do something, because there have been an awful lot of people before me who have given up so much more. Okay? That is a debt that we all need to repay, and I'm going to repay it for our family. That's what I want to see in commitment. I want to see service. Okay? I see it up there with the guys who are working up there in St. Paul on the Republican side. Okay, and I make no pretense about it. I'm a partisan. I look at some of those guys, some of the stuff on the other side, I just can't believe that they actually believe that stuff. Okay? He's got this new Mensure exchange. Even Obama talked about it the other day when he talked about Obamacare. We're going to set up these exchanges, and people are going to be able to compare, and it's just going to be like, Travelocity or Hotels.com or Kayak or one of these travel sites. Well, there's a huge difference there. I did not pay $50 million to set up Travelocity. Okay? That's how much the state of Minnesota is going to pay to set up this whole Mensure, online compare your healthcare programs. This is about ideology. That's why I say I think they're committed to their ideology, because what that means to me is that in the face of evidence to suggest otherwise, these people still go with it. Okay? And the last thing I'll talk about here is sacrifice. And we'll tie them all together with sacrifice. All right? It is, you folks decided to get up this morning and be here. You could have been doing a number of other things, right? Taking care of the honey-do list, I know it happens. I use this as a cover to get out of mine. I've learned a couple of things in the Marines. Hey, mama duty first, all right? I'm out of here. They've been doing a number of other things, all right? But we chose to be here, all right? We made a sacrifice. Made a sacrifice. Some was bigger than others. As Americans, okay, just given the way our country was founded and throughout our history, you know, we drew the short straw. We have to make a sacrifice. Okay, all those people from the Revolutionary War, Civil War, World War I, World War II, our freedom was paid for with their sacrifice. Okay? And so what that tells us is future generations, their freedom must be paid for with our sacrifice. Okay? We live in fortunate times. Sometimes our sacrifice will be just this. Hey, let's just gather up and let's figure out some people that we want to support, and let's do everything we can to move the ball forward, okay? And other times that sacrifice is much greater. The sacrifices that they're making in St. Paul and in Washington, D.C., when you look at the two sides, okay, being completely objective, just for a second, I gotta say that our side is making a greater sacrifice, okay? Just the name calling that we've been subjected to, the amount of things that people are saying about people's families and the like. Our side is making the bigger sacrifice right now. The other side, unfortunately, the Democrats and these DFLs, they are still perpetuating this idea, okay, that nobody has to make any sacrifice at all. Okay, nobody has to make any sacrifice. We can get the rich people to fund everything that we want to do. Okay, this everybody pays more budget that they just passed. 2010, when we had the State House, Governor Dayton was forced to work with Republicans. They passed a budget that didn't include any tax increases, and it nearly erased a $5 billion deficit. Okay, economy started picking up a little bit. Things got better, and we kept hearing the news reports every quarter. Oh, the revenues are exceeding expectations. The revenues are exceeding expectations. But that did not stop the Democrats. They refused to sacrifice their ideology. Okay? They said, hey, it doesn't matter how good the revenue forecast get. We want to tax rich people. And that was a soundbite. Okay? Because really what they ended up doing is taxing all of us. Okay? Up in Hennepin County, we got a new village tax. Thanks to Governor Dayton, let us pay $10 more. They're just going to nickel and dime us to death. Okay? It's death by 1,000 paper cuts is what this thing's going to turn out to be. That's what their budget is. Okay? Everybody's going to pay more. You have to pay more to download a book from the internet. Why on earth would we want to tax someone who wants to read a book? It makes no sense. I want people to read books. I want people to gain a better history of their country. I want people to take their minds in places that they can't go and things of that nature. Why on earth would you do that? Because it's all driven by ideology. These guys are extremists. Make no mistake about it. Make no mistake about it. They are extremists. They have brought into a certain political ideology and said, hey, we're running with it. We're going all in. And even though common sense says otherwise, even though there's evidence out there to suggest otherwise, they're still going. They're still going. $2.1 billion in tax increases. Okay? And that ain't all going on the rich. We don't have that. We got 3 billionaires in this state. We don't have that many rich people. Okay? And 2 of them half the time they don't even live here. Okay? That's why they tried to pass that snowbird tax. Everyone trying to get them one way or the other. But hey, if you saw a Minnesota skyline, you're going to get taxed. And that's just where these guys are. And it doesn't always come down to taxes. Everything. And everything with these guys, A to Z. I guarantee you, if you try to pass a ban on abortion after the 20th week, oh my goodness. They will come out of the woodwork. Everyone's jumping up around there. Wendy Davis, Texas, and all this stuff. You know what? That's 5 months. Folks, you got to be pretty extreme not to say, hey, you know what? After 5 months now, okay? Unless there's some critical crisis, going on in the health of this woman. And really, that protects women. Okay? It's a pretty dangerous procedure after 5 months. It protects women. These extremists, they don't get it. They don't care. They want to go the other way. Alliance for a Better Minnesota. You guys ever hear these guys? It's like a bitter Minnesota. Everything that comes out of their mouth is just so negative. Every time a candidate announces, within 30 minutes, they got a web piece up there talking about how wrong he is for Minnesota. I started looking at the girl who runs it. Her name is Carrie Luckett. And I know a thing or two about this social media stuff. So I looked her up on Twitter, and she had one note on there with her dog. And she tweeted out, her dog was tired of harassing people all day. And he's just sleeping right there. Oh my goodness, your dog even harasses people. What on earth? Right? And then the next day, a couple of days later, oh, this was the worst smoothie ever. This is at 7 o'clock in the morning. And this woman wakes up mad at breakfast. I just don't understand. That is this group of folks here. We are simply trying to do what's right, okay? I truly believe that about the conservative movement, Republican Party, simply trying to do what's right, okay? And I think it's time that we redefine what the conservative movement is in 2013. It's not the conservative movement of Barry Goldwater or of Ronald Reagan. It's not. I think we have to redefine it, not rebrand it, but I think that we have to go out there and tell folks what it actually is and what it means today. And in my mind, the conservative movement is simply about this: taking a cautious approach. Okay, taking a cautious approach, and when we decide that action is required by government, it should be swift and decisive. Okay, and that cautious approach comes out to play in this. And we recognize everyone needs help from time to time. Okay, everyone does. Okay, what conservatives want to do is help a fella stand up on his 2 feet, help a lady stand up on her 2 feet, but ensure that they never stand alone. Okay, and so we have charitable organizations, and sometimes we have government organizations, maybe need some unemployment insurance from time to time. But what we don't want to do is just completely turn our economy and neighborhoods and communities upside down. And you do that when you take these wild, willy-nilly approaches. Oh, here's a problem, and so let's just throw a whole bunch of money at this problem and make ourselves feel good. Write a couple lines on our website and hope no one ever talks about this problem again. Then we go out there and we say, and we're fighting to fix this problem. That's not what conservatism is. We want to take a cautious approach. We want to make sure that the things that we're fixing over here doesn't give us a problem over here. All right? We got to get that out to people. But we got to get that out. We want to take a full 360-degree look at it. But in order to get there, we understand that we're going to have to make some sacrifices. We understand that we're going to live in neighborhoods where not everyone's going to agree. We'll have a couple of disagreements, and that's okay. But guess what? We're all going to work to move our communities forward and to have some progress in our lives. That's sacrifice. The conservatives right now, yeah, I mean, I'm 2 years removed from the Marines, right? So I haven't been involved in these political fights my whole life. But I can tell you, where I see the conservatives right now is being the adults in the room, okay? Where I see Governor Dayton right now is being like a piece of wood furniture in the room. You know? So in 2010, the Republicans are in charge of the House and the Senate, and they work out a deal where they can fix everything without raising taxes or anything like that, and they get the governor to sign off on this plan. Now, 2012, the Democrats say, hey, we don't care how good the economy is. We want to tax everybody. We want to come up with all of these, this warehouse tax, because if you're a retiree, you know, just driving a forklift to, you know, keep yourself busy or something like that, we want to put you out of work. And Dayton's, you know, he's just sitting there. It's wood furniture. Okay? Okay, well, if you guys want to tax everybody, sure, why not? No leadership. No leadership and no ability to make any sort of sacrifice. No ability to say to his own political party, hey, look, fellas, we have to do what's right for all Minnesotans. Okay? And I'll tell you what, that's a tragedy. That's a tragedy, and I think they probably take that example from the top. President Obama has not made one sacrifice. That Obamacare is probably one of the biggest pieces of legislation ever in American history that was passed on a partisan vote. In other words, he told, you know, 49% of Americans, hey, I just don't care what you think. Okay? And most people, somebody told me the other day, President Obama only won with 50.7% of the vote. Okay? Guy walks around like he won 95% of the vote. Okay? He just rams stuff down our throat. That's not sacrifice. That's not saying that we're going to take care of everyone. And that's where I think we got to be. That's where I see the conservative movement today. We are trying our best to take care of everyone and to respect everyone, every community. We don't care if you're Somali, or we don't care if you are Mexican. Do we want immigration reform for foreigners? Absolutely, 100%. I don't think there's anyone here that believes in our immigration system the way it is. And I think everyone here agrees that it needs to be fixed. The state house, one of their fixes says, hey, let's just give these illegal immigrants driver's licenses. What? Driver's licenses? No, that's not a fix to the problem. Matter of fact, we had 2 bike deaths in Minneapolis this year, 2. The first one, 20-something-year-old girl run over and killed while riding her bicycle by a fella who had a long history with the law, including some violent activities, domestic violence, and things of this nature. A couple of drinking instances, and he even had no insurance, and he was an illegal immigrant. Okay, so at some point in time, this fella passed through our legal system. Okay, was not here on a legal status. He was turned loose, and the person who paid for that was this girl who was riding her bicycle, and she paid with her life. Now, if you went out there and you told that story, some Democrats go, oh, well, Chris Fields hates immigrants. No, I don't. No, I don't. I want to see that system fixed. Absolutely 100%. And in the meantime, until it is fixed, I want the laws applied. Okay? Because I want to make sure that people who are riding the bike and people who are doing various activities around town are not injured by people who we don't even know what their own background is in their own country. Okay? They're not all Mexicans. They come from Europe. They come from Australia and stuff like that. Now, why would I give you a driver's license when you could have, you know, ran over 8 people in Australia? That doesn't make any sense to me. I should be doing some sort of background check at minimum, but that's not where these people are. It is about ideology, and there's no sacrifice in that when you cling to that. I know we can have a better country. We can have better representatives. We can have better quality of life for everyone involved. Okay, we want Main Street to do well. We want Wall Street to do well. Who cares what those jackwagons do? Okay, we want everyone to do well. The Democrats may try to demonize us. They may try to vilify us. But I'll tell you this much. Come 2014, they will not ignore us. Okay? We will take this fight right to them. I think in the past, we've been a little too passive, and you know, we've been the nice guys around here. But I'm not going to let these guys go around calling us racist, Islamophobes, homophobes, and all the other business. No, I think we need to stand up, and I think that we need to make a strong, passionate defense of our conservative values, because they are the values that America has prospered under. Okay, we have never prospered under their schemes, and you know who the poster child for that was Jimmy Carter. Everybody remembers the '70s. Holy God, what a joke that! I mean, stagflation and everything. Now there's a new poster child, President Obama. You know, unemployment, 7%. Everything he says comes out of his mouth. We don't know if we can believe it. We don't know if there's any courage behind any of his statements. He's committed. That one web video that's going around on October 13, 2012, a couple of weeks before the election, he said this: the auto industry was not on life support when he took over. It was flatline. But then he went in there and he bet on American workers, and he saved GM, and he saved Chrysler, and he refused to let Detroit go bankrupt. These words came out of his mouth. I'm watching it as I'm reading Detroit's going bankrupt. Now, a lot of you folks in here are smart. You don't make a decision to go bankrupt in the election was only 7, 8, 9 months away, something like that. You don't make that decision to go bankrupt like yesterday. You don't get all your bills and go, okay, can't pay them. It's a process to make that decision to go bankrupt. So while he was saying that on October 13th, they had pretty much decided, hey, guess what, we're going bankrupt. Folks, we need a renewed spirit, courage, commitment, and sacrifice. That's what we should be looking for in our leaders. And I am here to tell you positively that the Minnesota GOP candidates I have seen and I've met, they have those qualities in abundance. They do. You are going to be really, really excited about seeing them on August 19th, I believe.